How's it going, guys? Yeah. Wow. How's it going, guys? Easy. Yeah, you did. Chowsome. Yeah, if I run off the platform tonight, it's because I had chowsome earlier. And that is a real thing. So, hi, if you guys are new, my name's Bryan. I'm the middle school pastor here, and I want to say welcome. We'll talk later, don't worry. But let's open in prayer real quick. Jesus, I thank you for today. God, I pray a blessing over all those that are graduating or have graduated this week. God, I pray that you will set their feet in the direction they need to go. God, I pray that you will be honored by the lives they choose into high school and out of high school. I pray this in your name. Amen. All right, so we're going to carry on in our series tonight called Losing My Religion. And we're going to be in John chapter 5. John chapter 5, starting in verse 1, says, "Sometime later, Jesus went up to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish festivals. Now there is in Jerusalem near the sheep gate a pool, which in Aramaic is called Bethesda, and which is surrounded by 5 covered colonnades, shades. Here a great number of disabled people used to lie, the blind, the lame, the paralyzed. One who was there had been an invalid for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and learned he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, 'Do you want to get well?'" Okay, we got to pause here for a second. I remember when I was engaged to my wife, and about a month before that, everyone would come up to me like, "You excited?" "Oh, you mean the woman that I've been dating for 4.5 years that we're going to get married in a month?" Of course I'm excited. Like, come on, silly Jesus. Of course he wants to get well. All right, sorry. "Sir," the invalid replied, "I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. While I am trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me." Okay, so here's the picture. This is no ordinary pool. This pool, it was said that there was an angel that would come down from time to time and would stir the water. And the first person who would get into the water after it was stirred would be healed. So they turned it into this big thing. They put covered patios around it, and all of these people who needed to be healed or wanted to be healed would hang out at this pool. They would hang out, and then when the water would stir, this man who has no friends and hasn't been able to walk in 38 years. 38 years. Every time he goes to get in the water, he's pushed aside or pushed down by someone else, and they get into the pool first. And he's been hanging out here for a long time trying to be healed. And Jesus walks up, finds out that this guy has been waiting for a long time to be healed, and then he asks him the silly question, "Do you want to get well?" Do you think Jesus knew that this man wanted to be well? Yeah, that's why he's at the pool. That's why he's there. It wasn't like he just found him in his home and be like, "Oh, hey, you can't walk. Would you like to?" He was at the pool where he wanted to learn how to walk. So my question would be, who here, if they saw that, would do something about it? Right? If you saw this man who wanted so desperately to be healed, and he kept getting pushed aside by everyone else so that they could force their way in first, who would do something about that? Right? We're like, of course we would do something about that. But then what if your religion told you weren't allowed to? Right? Yeah, exactly. You're like, well, why did your religion tell you you can't? See, what happens later is Jesus heals this guy on the Sabbath. And the Sabbath was a day of rest. And to those that were like higher church people, you weren't allowed to do any work on the Sabbath. And so we'll get into it later, but really when Jesus heals this guy on the Sabbath, these priests are so upset with Jesus that he did work on the Sabbath by healing a guy that they want to kill him. Yeah, it got real fast, right? Are you kidding me? So his religion would technically tell him he wasn't allowed to do that. So my main idea for tonight is it's not about law, it's about life. It's not about law, it's about life. I remember a few years back, I worked for a backpack company called Gregory, and we went to Antelope Island, which is in Salt Lake City. It's a big island in the middle of the Great Salt Lake. And get there, and we were told that we are trying there were these new packs that hadn't come out yet, and we needed to test them out, or see how they felt carrying heavy loads in them. So we go out to Antelope Island to put really heavy packs on and walk around. Yeah, it kind of sucked. But we get there, and we're told that we have to sit through this little like spiel by a ranger about the island and stuff. It's like, oh, okay. So we get there, sitting down, and this little lady ranger walks in, and she starts to tell us about the island. And then she says, and there's bison out here on our island. I'm like, okay. And then she proceeds to tell us that bison, fun fact, weigh about 1,500 pounds and can run 35 miles an hour. That is when I raised my hand, right? I'm sitting in the very front. I raised my hand because, every grown man needs to raise his hand in a room full of other grown men. And so I raised my hand, and she says, yes, little boy in the front. And I say, hey, are buffalo mean? It's a fair question, right? And then she corrects me. She's like, they're not buffalo, they're bison. What's the difference? I don't know, right? What's the difference? And her answer was, buffalo haven't lived in America in over 50 years. So you're telling me bison is just another word for American buffalo? All right. So I didn't argue this point because she looked kind of mean. And so I say, Ranger lady, okay, are bison mean? Right? And then she says, why? It's illegal to mess with them. Okay. I don't care. I don't care if it's illegal. I'm asking because you just told me that a 1,500-pound animal can run faster than I can. I want to know if they're mean. And then her answer, no, they're not really mean. They're temperamental. So they're not always aggressive, just unpredictably aggressive. Awesome. This is great. And so we go out and we're hiking with these really heavy packs, and sure enough, about 2 miles into it, there's American buffalo / bison / murder machines standing in front of us on the trail. So we all stop, right? My boss, Dan, he takes his pack off, takes one big step back, and tucks in behind his boss. Okay? His boss, Peep, was his last name. His name's Peep. Peep looks at him and goes, what are you doing? And Dan says, he doesn't look happy, and I just have to be faster than you. Right? Like, he's getting ready, he's stretching. Right? That's it. You just got to be faster than one guy. We got this. And so we're sitting there, and another rep that's older than God, walks up and is trying to get closer to the buffalo thing to get a picture. We're like, dude, you're gonna anger it. Stop it. And Peep is yelling at him, and everything's going crazy. We literally stand on the trail, not moving, for 30 minutes because the bison was just chilling. He was just hanging out. And it's not that we didn't, we stayed put not because we wanted to obey the law. We stayed put because we cherished life, right? This thing is potentially really mad and faster than us. And to top it all off, let's say the American buffalo decides to destroy us. It decides, I don't like the color green. I'm going to kill that guy. And so he runs, and let's just suppose he kills that guy and twists his ankle. We get sued because he's protected. Come on, people. So we cherish life because buffalo, bison, whatever they're called, are scary. It's not about the law. It's about life. And Jesus, he's fronted with this thing, right? He looks at this man who needs to be healed, and he says, man, the law says that I shouldn't do this because it's the Sabbath. But he needs to be healed. So your first fill-in on your bookmark, your first point, is passed by people but chosen by Christ. See, this man was passed by people all day long. He was pushed down, he was passed up, and I guarantee you, after 38 years, this man asked the question more than once, what about me? What about me, Lord? When is it my turn? Because he kept getting passed up. And I know for us, it's easy to ask that question. What about me, Lord? When is it my turn? It's easy to look at others and say, they're getting this. What? When? When can it be my turn? But what was awesome is this man who had been focused on the wrong thing, because he was focused on the pool, he was focused on this thing that could potentially give him healing. He was focused on the pool. He was focused on the healing rather than the healer. And so when the healer comes up, now he's not only getting healed, but he gets a personal encounter with God. He gets a personal encounter with the healer. He was hand-picked and healed because Jesus saw that he needed to be healed. Jesus saw that it wasn't just that everyone needed to be healed, that he needed to be healed. Psalm 32 says, Lord my God, I called to you for help, and you healed me. And I know many of us, myself included, have been where that guy is. I know that we've been there. I know that we've been there for whatever reason it is. God, when is it my turn? I'm tired of watching everyone else succeed. I'm tired of everyone else doing this or getting this or whatever it is. When is it my turn? But God knows. It is not that he's overlooking you. Man, he's waiting for that encounter. He's waiting to encounter you on a personal level. Because everyone else who pushed that guy aside and got into the pool, they got healed for a time. I don't know if it was forever. I wasn't there. But they got healed, but they didn't get that encounter. They didn't get a chance to meet the healer. Psalm 147:3 says, he heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Jesus knows exactly what you need. Jesus knew that that man needed to be healed. But he also knew that he needed an encounter. He also knew that he needed to be lifted up by the Lord, by God, so that he could go and tell other people that he was healed. Because how much more of a miracle is it that this guy who hasn't walked is now walking? The second point on your bookmark is the hurting need healing. Carrying on this story, starting verse 8, says, Then Jesus said to him, Get up, pick up your mat and walk. At once the man was cured. He picked up his mat and walked. The day on which this took place was a Sabbath. And so the Jewish leaders said to the man who had been healed, It is the Sabbath. The law forbids you to carry your mat. What a bunch of busters. Can we just call that out? Like, come on. They know this guy hasn't been able to walk for 38 freaking years, and they're like, why are you carrying your mat? It's Sunday. I don't know, because I've never been able to carry it before, dude. Like, come on, get off yourself. Sorry, I'm getting off tangent. All right. Where was I? Pick up your mat and walk. Okay, there it is, done. But he replied, the man who made me well said to me, pick up your mat and walk. So they asked him, who is this fellow who told you to pick it up and walk? The man who was healed had no idea who it was, for Jesus had slipped away into the crowd that was there. Later, Jesus found him at the temple and said to him, see, you are well again. Stop sinning, or something worse may happen to you. The man went away and told the Jewish leaders that it was Jesus who had made him well. And if you keep reading, it talks about how these Jewish leaders wanted to kill Jesus because he healed on the Sabbath, and then he claimed to be equal to God by saying that God is his Father, he is the Son, and that all power was given to him in authority. Them's like fighting words to Jewish leaders. And then you have to remember, why was Jesus in the town? Do you guys remember in the very first part of the chapter? He was there for a Jewish festival. That would be like someone coming in on Easter and like breaking all the rules. The rules. Like, these Jewish leaders are already on edge because it's the festival. So once again, Jesus steps outside of the confines of religion because religion could not have healed that man on that day. But Jesus could have. And so he did. But then let's also remember one thing. It's really easy to like villainize those other people, those other guys or those other women who would push that man aside so that they could get in the water first. It's really easy to like villainize those guys and be like, yeah, those are bad guys. But the reality is they needed healing also. They were there because they also needed healing. This picture is a picture that the hurting need healing. And instead of us focusing on what could bring us the healing, let's focus on the healer. Let's focus on the guy who can actually do it. Jesus is the healer. And if we're going to focus on him, if we're going to learn more about him, Jesus, the healer, is found in the Bible. And if we're going to get to know the healer a little better, we should probably get to know the Bible a little better, because that's where he's found. Jesus is not bound by the stringent rules of religion. He's bound by loving people and giving them their needs because they need it. Remember, it's not about law, it's about life. It's about looking at people and saying, I want to do whatever it is that you need. Like, I want to do that because I care for people. Because Jesus was all about people. This is a God who says, follow me. And I'm willing to bet that if there is a God that says, follow me, that he will give you a means to do so. He will give us an opportunity or a try to follow. He's going to give us the means to do so. Because he says, follow me. He says, come to me, all you who are broken, all you who are burdened and heavy laden. Come to me, follow me. He tells all of his disciples as he calls them out, follow me. He gives us the opportunity to follow him. And he gives us the means to follow him. God is in the business of healing the hurting. John 8:12 says, when Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. We have an opportunity to follow the healer. And when we follow the healer, everyone we come in contact with should also be introduced to him. Because we're not just talking about healing people who can't walk or who are blind or deaf or whatever it would be an ailment. We're not just talking about those people. It says that God heals the brokenhearted, that he fights for those that don't have a fight in them, that he's the voice for the voiceless, that he is the protector of those that need protecting. Called the Good Shepherd. And what is a shepherd's job? To protect the sheep. Yeah, to protect his sheep. And he's the Good Shepherd, which means he's going to protect those that need protecting. And so when we bring the healer with us everywhere we go, everyone gets a chance to be introduced to him. Even if you think, I don't need the healing, I'm good. Man, what about your friends? What about your mom? What about your dad? What about your sister? What if they need healing that you're unaware of? Because sometimes you can't see a broken heart. Sometimes you can't see people who are hurting inside. But Jesus is the healer. We need to bring the healer to people because people need the healing. And the best way that we can do this is to step out of those confines that religion would say. To step outside of that and say, no, Jesus is for people. God loves people. I too am going to love people. And if that means that I bring Jesus to everywhere I go, then that's what that's going to mean. I tell people all the time, I'm not a climber who loves Jesus. I'm someone who loves Jesus that happens to climb. And what that means is that I'm not bringing Jesus to people. It's that everywhere I go, I can't help because I'm there. Like I want to be with Jesus. And so if I'm climbing, I want to be there. Like I want Jesus to be there with me. If you're skating, do that. Bring Jesus with you. If you're scootering, what is it? Scootering? That's a dumb word. I'm sorry. I can't say that with any dignity. If you're scootering, if you're pushing a little thing with handlebars, like, man, skateboard, whatever it is that you do. I don't know if you're a professional water balloon tosser. Like, man, bring Jesus everywhere you go. So as the band comes up, what I want to tell you guys, what I want to tell us is let's bring Jesus everywhere we go because Jesus is the healer. And if we're going to get to know the healer, we need to introduce him to other people. And it has to be about life. It has to be not about law, but about life. It has to be about bringing the healer to those that need it. Self-included, bring the healer to those that need healing. Jesus, I pray that we would be anxious to bring you, God. That we would not just be anxious to bring you to ourselves, that we would just keep you to ourselves. But God, I pray that we would be anxious to bring you everywhere we go because you are worth bringing. That you are worth every hardship that we might encounter because you're worth bringing. God, help us to have a heart for your people. Help us to have a heart for the ones that you love. God, let us love people as you love people. Praise in your name. Amen.